the Joe Alexander Show. Welcome to the Joe Alexander Show. Welcome to the Joe Alexander Show.
All right, we are live
Looking
after
good.
lots of technical difficulties. I'm just sending out the new information to everybody because, as you know, Streamlabs failed yet again, and now I am remembering why. I quit paying for Streamlabs before, but that's the only way that we can do shows like this because I looked into they have a thing on Streamlabs desktop where you can join, but you won't see anything that's on my screen.
Super.
Yeah, so that's super helpful. They brag about it, and it's like, oh, you can share select things, and I'm like, so I'd have to literally everything I share, I would have to select. It's a mess. So anyway, guys, sorry about all that. We are definitely live. Steve was kind enough to let me use his StreamYard for the evening until I can figure out what the heck happened before. So we are definitely live, and we have a lot to get into. And Steve, you said you had something that you wanted to put up. And
Yes, sir.
Oh, there. You can do it right on your own. That's awesome. Good. Because I do not remember how to use StreamYard.
They used to use lead paint until they realized kids were getting really stupid. And they're like, hey, what's going on here?
Oh, yeah. That was the original autism.
Yeah.
Dude,
Asbestos.
lead paint. We used to tell kids, oh, he ate paint.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
paint chips.
Yeah.
You
Tommy
ever had
chips.
paint chips as a kid? Yeah.
Tommy boy.
That was a thing, man. Lead paint.
In the 1970s and 80s, America saw an explosion in violent crime and serial killers. Now, one hypothesis for this is lead exposure or lead poisoning.
This issue of lead pollution, is it just serial killers, or is there an elevated amount of violent crime that goes along with it?
The issue of serial killers is one that I kind of introduced as a, the most extreme example.
Right.
But most of the research that's been done has focused on aggression, juvenile delinquency, for example. There are long-term studies that look at kids who were exposed to lead, including in relatively small amounts, and then what happens to them later, by the time they're, teenagers or young adults. And they have shown a very strong association with problems with learning, ADHD, and as I said, delinquency and crime.
Jumping back to the 1920s, oil companies and automotive companies added lead to their petrol or to their gasoline. The reason for this was to stop engine knocking. Now, scientists at the time thought, oh, this is not a great idea because we already know that lead is a neurotoxin, and we've got hundreds, if not thousands of years of evidence for this already. So how does lead impact the body? Pretty much every organ will be affected, but the brain and the nervous system is the most sensitive organ. When lead enters the brain, it's going to impact our neurotransmitters, which are the chemicals that nerve cells communicate between each other. Early exposure in childhood to lead will decrease brain volume, specifically the prefrontal cortex, which is all about executive function. So children exposed to lead will have impact to their learning, their attention, and we saw an uptick in ADHD levels, as well as self-control and impulsivity. Number of studies have shown that children, or even in utero exposure to lead, increases or strongly correlates to violent crime in adulthood. And when we look at serial killers like Ted Bundy, Charles Manson, and Gary Ridgway, were not only exposed to the fumes from the petrol, but they also lived for a period of their life close by to a lead smelter.
So, just for the people who aren't in the know, that kind of gave you a rundown of what to expect. Why we would say something like leaded gas causes violence. I actually didn't know that Ridgway, Manson, and Bundy all lived near lead smelters as children. And
No, I didn't know that till just now either.
And you know, we know lead decreases the IQ. Now, if you aerosolize it and put it in the air, what's that going to do?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a good question. I have no idea. It could do anything, really. That's actually something I did not search, but I did find some studies and articles that are making this claim that it's actually pretty true. One of which, if I can figure out how to use your deal here, share screen window, this one. There we go. All right. I think that'll work. This is from Forbes. I found this. It says how lead caused America's violent crime epidemic. This seems quite sure. That's a very matter of factual headline, if you will. They've got this chart here, and it says 1937 to 1986. And that is for the gas lead in tons per 1,000 people, obviously. And then the brown is from 1960 to 2009. To 2009. Violent crimes per 1,000 people, 1960 to 2009. So they're showing a correlation to a degree, and you can kind of see. Yeah, can you see my? Can you? Yeah, you can see.
Yeah.
Okay, so you see the dip in leaded gas for whatever reason. There's a dip here. Well, it dips big. Well, it dips big there as well. However, I noticed that here where it really dips, this just keeps climbing up too.
Yeah.
This is slightly matched up to this, but it's offset, obviously. So I don't know what to think about that chart personally, and if that's proof of anything. It almost reminds me, I'm not saying it's not true. Keep that in mind, everyone, because I do have some other thoughts. But I guess my point is it kind of gives me the feel of like the ice cream and shark theory. You know what I'm talking about?
I don't.
When people are attacked by sharks, ice cream sales go up because it's usually in warm weather.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I got you.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that I'm correct. I mean, I'm just a guy. So starting in the 1860s, they say that America saw a huge increase in levels of violent crime that peaked in the early 1990s, then steadily declined and continues to decline today, which I don't believe that at all. All kinds of theories have been promulgated to explain this peak and decline in crime, and plenty of politicians in the 1990s took credit for it. So it goes on and it describes that there are a bunch of different studies. I mean, we don't have to read through that whole thing.
Yeah.
But
No,
here's one
good.
right here. This is right from PMC and NCBI, PubMed, basically. And it's a really long study. It took a whole bunch of different studies. It's a systematic review of a whole bunch of different studies that they put all together, and they went through and they looked at whether or not this is actually, you know, if there was any similarities, what was wrong, and so on. So some librarian that points out right here from the George Washington University developed a search strategy. The following databases were used for our search: ProQuest Environmental Science Database, PubMed, ToxNet, and the Public Affairs Information Service, using the following terms: lead, blood lead, or lead exposure, nervous system, lead toxicity. You can see everything that they, violence, aggressiveness, violent behavior, all mixed together. They pulled up all the studies they could. For the risk of bias, a modified Robbins E-tool was utilized to assess the risk of bias in each observational study of exposure. Confounding bias, selection bias, exposure miscalculation, missing data bias, outcome measurement bias, reporting bias, and overall bias were all assessed and ranked on a scale of low to very high scored. Accordingly, 2 independent reviewers completed risk of bias reviews and then conferred to each consensus on all domains, with third party adjudicating any conflicts that remain. And it goes through and it kind of shows how they pull all that off. I mean, it's a long study, dude. Like, it goes through and it says the study, and then it says that Edinburgh. These are all the studies that have been done on it right here on the left.
Mhm.
And it used all those, and then it, cross-referenced and all this and that, used a bunch of different countries. And believe it or not, I did read this earlier today. I'm a nerd. I'm not going to subject everybody here, but you can see how long this thing is. It even goes into participant characteristics, talks about risk of bias again. Just boring stuff that, I mean, if you want to read it, this is the title of it. I mean, you can see right here on where my mouse is, we're not even halfway through this study after everything. So there you have it. But this is the title of it. If anybody wants to read this, if you're into that kind of stuff, it's actually kind of interesting. But yeah, so what they found basically is that it's, like I said, it's a correlation between specifically leaded gas and violence. And to go further, most of that time that we're speaking of right now, it wasn't just leaded gas that was in our environment. It was paint, and other products had it in there. Now, somebody saw that we were doing this, a video, but it's on Telegram, so I don't actually have it right now. But just before we went on or tried to go on the first time, they sent me a video. There's a theory too that I wanted to throw out there and see what you thought. That a lot of this is just being over exaggerated, and that the reason they actually are demonizing lead paint is because it blocks their signals. You heard this before? I'm getting the video right now if you haven't.
I haven't. I forgot my tinfoil hat for this, but I get that. But I just can't imagine they couldn't develop a signal that could get around lead.
They really banned lead.
I don't know if that came across, but
it did. It scared the hell out of me.
It did.
Yeah.
So why?
It was just out of nowhere.
I don't have it on the screen. So I got the video. Let me I'll just show it to you so people that aren't familiar with it like you can hear it. I've heard this before, but I don't necessarily I don't know what to think of it. So, and I don't have to worry about turning on system sounds because you said it scared you, so you could hear it already anyway.
Well, I didn't see it coming.
Okay, there you go.
They really banned lead paint because it was toxic or because it blocked their signals. Think about it. For decades, every home was coated in lead paint, thick, durable, insulating. Then suddenly, governments worldwide decided it was dangerous. But here's what they don't tell you. Lead is a natural shield against radiation and electromagnetic frequencies. In other words, radio waves can't penetrate it. Before the ban, your walls literally acted like armor. No TV signals, no radio frequencies, no wireless anything could pass through. And then, right as wireless communication exploded, radio, television, early radar, the health panic began. Convenient timing, right? They told us it was about safety, but the studies linking lead paint to poisoning? Most came from industrial smelting, not house paint. The numbers never added up. But what did add up was control. Because once the lead came off the walls, the signals went in. Every home became a receiver. Every person became a node in a connected network. Was lead paint banned to protect you or to make sure they could finally reach inside your home? You be the judge.
There you go. And that's that video that they sent me. One of my friends that watches the show and stuff sent me that. I did look it up while the video was playing. It does say lead is a naturally occurring metal, which is interesting because if it's naturally occurring, we're exposed to it no matter what all the time. It says that it has been used for various applications, including radiation shielding and construction, and its density under atomic number make it effective for absorbing and scattering radiation, making it a valuable material in medical and industrial settings. However, lead is also known for its toxicity, it goes on to say. So do with that little bit of information what you will. She sent that to me, and I was like, I think we'll throw that in there just to add some different ideas to the show. But since you hadn't heard it, I figured I'd play that and see what you thought.
Oh no, I appreciate the perspective, but I would pose it like this: are you going to make a case that asbestos is a good thing?
I have no idea.
Asbestos is completely fireproof. You cannot burn asbestos. I mean, I'm sure you could but in a household environment, it's never going to get that hot.
Yeah.
Did they take asbestos out of the house so that they could burn your house down? Like, I get it. If they wanted to get the signal in your house, they would put an antenna on your house. They would tell you that you needed it. They would make up a law that every house had to have a lightning rod or something. Would be my take on it.
Yeah, I mean, that's plausible. But then, you got to think too with the cell phones.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what they're trying to get in your house, is those signals, because it said you're a node in the whole, you know what I mean? I don't know, man. I don't know what to think there. I mean, I've heard that theory before, but the fact that lead is a naturally occurring thing in our and keep this in mind, they also say to us that there is no acceptable amount of lead for a human to ingest. They have, it's literally zero. You should not have any lead in your system. You should not be exposed to it. You can't be around it, but it's naturally occurring. So like, what's up there? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you know
I got
saying?
you.
Just
Well,
like trying to think like all angles of it, because
Yeah.
I do have something interesting I found later.
So plutonium's naturally occurring too.
Yep. Just, you can't have that in large amounts.
You just don't go near it. Like,
Yeah.
So even though lead is naturally occurring, it's not everywhere. It's in lead deposits. If you live downstream from them and your water got contaminated, your kids might be a little, might be a little bit less smart.
Or violent, apparently.
Yeah. So, and what I point to is this. We both grew up in the 80s and the 90s, and we heard about all the serial killers that were around. This isn't just about serial killers, by the way, but think about all that there were, and you're going to say modern detective, you can't get away with stuff anymore. I mean, there is an element of that, but there is also not the level of completely heinous, off-the-wall violent crime that there used to be. Richard Chase alone, the vampire of somewhere in California, he's a great example. Like, he just didn't have his mind. And I also found out today there's a lot of studies that point to ADHD.
Yeah.
We saw a spike of ADHD as we were coming up, and all the kinds of new drugs to treat it.
Yeah, I mean, of course they came up with new drugs to treat it, but then why would it still be around today? You know what I mean? For
ADHD?
Yeah, like still.
Well, I
like
mean, you are
kids that are really young that still are being born around it, and they claim that they've got lead out of the environment. I found an article from like 2020. Did I even open that one? I don't even think I opened that one. They claim they got it all out of the environment, all the like 2021.
So I didn't say lead was the only thing.
Yeah.
And leaded gas was perfectly legal until 1996.
Yeah.
So that was still in the environment up until 29 years ago. Nowadays, they may have discovered how profitable selling ADHD medicine was, and so they want to kind of overdiagnose it.
That is 100% for sure. I can tell you that.
You think they're going to stumble onto a gold mine like that and then let it go away?
Yeah.
But I mean, that's just my take on it.
Yeah.
And I don't claim to be an expert. It's just, this is what I see.
Well, here's something that I found. If I can figure out which one. There we go. So you remember the whole thing with Flint?
Mm-hmm. They're drinking water.
Pipes, and everybody was sick. and or
Isn't
at
that
least
still going on?
yeah, sort of. I guess I don't know. There's local people that say that they don't think anything's wrong with the water. So I'm just telling you what local people there say.
Hmm.
I'm not saying that they're right. I'm just saying there are local people. And if you remember, I'm not a big fan of the guy, but Tim Pool
Yeah.
a long time ago said that he had samples taken from the river, some hotel water, a restaurant, a house, and a couple other places. And he sent them in for independent testing. Didn't say where they were from or anything. And they didn't find any lead in it. I think it was Tim Pool.
Isn't it?
That would have been
Well-
like 2017, 18, maybe.
Isn't it
was-
supposed to be the pipes? So if you're taking it out of the
Here's
river,
the story. They blamed the Republican governor. There was Democrats locally leading things, and the Republican was like, he wasn't a good governor, by the way. I'm not defending him because he's a Republican, but he was like, so why don't you switch water sources to Detroit? I think it was Detroit. You'll save money and so on. I don't know where their original water source was, to be honest. And so they were like, sure, and they did it, and then something happened, and supposedly it loosened lead deposits in the pipes that were lead or something, and it ended up in the water supply, and people got real sick, and that's the story. So he got blamed for it, even though they didn't put the right amount. They put this chemical in the piping, not directly, but through the water processing plant or whatever. They put a chemical in there that's supposed to keep the lead like tacked, keep it contained in the pipes. And supposedly they didn't put enough of that in. When they did the switch, there was a big mess, and then people got sick. But then they just blamed the Republican governor, and apparently that made everything okay. But now I've heard, I just watched, I can't remember who it was. It might have been this Nick guy I watched that travels around the United States. He just went through Flint and talked to a few people, and a lot of them said they don't think there's anything wrong with the water. So I don't know, man. All I'm telling you is that that's one thing that we could say it could be true. Oh, that makes it smaller. But this right here, I started thinking about that, and I'm like, so if people are drinking out of leaded pipes, and like we just discussed, the amount that's supposed to be in your system is zero for any kind of, negative effects. More than 9 million U.S. households drink water through lead pipes. 9 million. I mean, there's a lot of people in the United States. So that number is not as big as it sounds on paper, And that's as of 2024. And notably, Chicago has a ton of lead pipes. The highest number in the country. 387,095 reported in 2021.
Are they the highest in anything else?
I think they have the highest rates for hugs and smiles last I checked, but I'd have to relook that up. It's a really
Okay, so maybe my research is bunk because I thought it caused violence.
So again, I asked what are the chances people are drinking from leaded water lines or drinking lead on any level? In other words, what are the chances that the chemicals that they're putting through the pipes to supposedly hold the pipes lead in place are working? And this is what I got, and I mean I don't feel like it. Maybe I'm just not getting what it's trying to tell me, but so it says the chances of drinking lead contaminated water are significant, especially for children and pregnant women. Like, I didn't ask who is it going to affect. I asked what are the chances people are still drinking lead today. So I don't know. I feel like it's dancing around. Lead can enter drinking water through corroded plumbing materials, particularly in homes with lead service lines. The EPA has set the maximum contaminant level goal for lead drinking or for in drinking water at 0. That is what they say is the safe amount of lead to drink. And yet Chicago alone, what did I say, has
960,000 or something?
No, 387,095 lines throughout the city of Chicago that people are drinking out of right now. And like you pointed out, it also has the highest amount of crime. I think they're like number 10 in the country or something like that.
But they have a high disparate amount of violent crime. And they also don't report crime properly. We all know it. They're massaging the numbers any way they can, and they're still coming up at 10.
Yeah.
So I don't trust statistics. I'm not going to lie to you.
No,
Too many shenanigans.
Yeah. So there is probably something to the lead violence. I think there's other factors too.
Of course there is. There has to be.
At the same time, I went into Grok, or not Grok. I went into Copilot, since that's where I asked the question. Here I got a better list. So we got Chicago as number 1. They've got the most leaded pipes. Cleveland, Ohio is number 2. Is Cleveland violent?
Absolutely.
Yep.
You want to stay right away from East Cleveland.
Number 3 is New York, New York. Number 4 is Detroit, Michigan. I'm sure we have some viewers that can attest to the fact they're violent. Milwaukee, Wisconsin is number 5. St. Louis, Missouri is number 6. Newark, New Jersey is number 7. Pittsburgh, PA is number 8. Minneapolis, Minnesota is number 9. And Cincinnati, Ohio is number 10. So from 1 to 10, those are the cities that have the most to least, 10 being the least amount of leaded lines. 10 being the least is 80,000 in Cincinnati, Ohio, that people are drinking out of lead. And it, like I said, affects 9 million U.S. households.
And if I was a betting man, I would bet that those aren't going to the rich folks' homes.
I would assume not. A lot of the rich neighborhoods are generally in those areas freshly built.
So they're not going to have any lines in their house. So the only way they would be exposed would be a corroded pipe from the source, which is possible.
Robert on Rumble says that his wife is from Cleveland, and she can attest to about the violence there. So Cleveland's violent. Kitty on Rumble said they switched the water in Flint from Detroit's water to the water out of Flint River. Oh, I thought it was the other way around. They switched the water in Flint from Detroit's water to the water out of Flint River. Okay, so she's saying it's the other way around.
So
and they switch back.
Just for that guy's wife, East Cleveland is about 4 minutes that way. So yeah, I can tell you.
Yeah, so I mean, that is interesting information, especially when you look at that graph where the dips kind of match up. I guess my next question would have to be like, how long does the effects of lead stay in your system? Does that make sense? Like, because I'll bring the chart back up. Let me bring the chart back up really quick. Sorry.
I actually kind of had an answer for a question you had about that chart. So a lot of the so you were asking about this dip right here that the violence doesn't track with it.
Yeah.
It's because it gets into your system like when you're young and as you're developing, and it affects the frontal cortex of your brain. So it never develops properly. So the violence doesn't necessarily go away. And that's kind of the rub. You see a decrease as the amount of lead goes down because less children are exposed to it when they're young.
Okay, so for a little bit of information, this is telling me that lead can remain in the body for years, especially in the bones, where it can stay for decades and even be re-released into the bloodstream later.
Yeah.
So that brings me a new idea now that I know that. It stays in the bloodstream for about 30 days, right? But then it sinks into like bodies, like organs and the liver and bones and so on, affecting the way they function and so on. But if it can be re-released at a later time, what are the chances that when you see somebody have a psychotic episode out of nowhere, that's what happened?
Yeah, it's absolutely possible. And it raises another question. So they took the lead out of the gas, but what did they replace it with? What is in car exhaust right now? It's like that old statistic about cutting down emissions for the environment. it sounds like a great theory until you realize that all the cars in the world put together are less than 15 shipping ships that
Yeah.
run cargo because they use the absolute cheapest fuel they can, and they produce more than all the cars. They pollute more than all the cars in the world put together. So what do you do with that? And
That's a good question.
that gets into our rain. Remember acid rain from the 80s?
Yep.
Whatever happened to that? Whatever happened to the hole in the ozone layer?
Well, people stopped using that particular hairspray. Remember
The CFDs.
Aquanet?
Yeah,
They demonized Aquanet. My grandma used to use the shit out of Aquanet, man. On my mom's side, I remember going over to her house and there was like always a can of Aquanet, and she'd spray it. Man, that stuff stunk. But yeah, so this did confirm there were lead particles let into the air through the exhaust. It didn't just stay in the gas and like, you know, end up in the muffler or something. It literally was. It says the particles would settle in soil, water, and urban dust, especially near roads and highways. So, you know, little kids playing in water puddles or whatever, they're playing in lead,
Mm-hmm.
and they didn't even know it. And it affects children and pregnant women the most.
Yeah, because once you're older, of course, it's going to affect the pregnant woman because it affects the baby, but it's going to affect people as they develop them. I mean, I'm sure there's ill effects as you get older, but as you're developing, that's going to be the worst time for it.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's interesting stuff if you think about it. I mean, so people were technically breathing it in, playing in it. It was on our beaches because the whole
Drinking
world
it.
was using it.
Mhm.
Yeah. So yeah, you go to a river back then, you maybe not necessarily were you worrying about transients, heroin needles, poking you, but so you're drinking out of a nice pretty river and you're drinking lead. You just don't see it, you know. So everybody, including us, we were affected by it.
Yeah.
Somehow.
It was around us when we were growing up. Like, so what I heard is you wanted leaded gas for muscle cars. Because those were the ones that knocked the most. So you'd want leaded gas to keep your engine sound a little bit down.
You asked a question, and I was going to look it up since I'm right here
Yeah.
on this. You asked what replaced the lead, because now I'm curious.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
I
sure.
didn't even think of this when I was doing research on this because I'd never heard of this theory or these studies before you mentioned it. It was replaced by a safer, non-toxic additives that still enhance engine performance without the risks. So benzene,
Benzene,
toluene, toluene, yeah, and xylene, and then also methyl tertiary butyl ether.
Good times.
And ethanol.
Mm-hmm. So toluene and what was the first one? Benzene?
Yeah, benzene's not good, is it?
No. I think it's funny that, like, if you huff gas, it can kill you.
Yeah.
But it gets blown out of the back end of a car and it's supposed to be okay now.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I definitely don't want electric vehicles either, but
no, I hear you.
I think we should do the okay, so this is what it's benzene exposure can cause serious health effects, including bone marrow damage, immune suppression, and increased risk of leukemia. It is a colorless, sweet-smelling chemical found in gasoline, cigarette smoke, and industrial emissions. It evaporates quickly and is commonly inhaled or absorbed through the skin. And what it does is cause drowsiness, dizziness, headaches, tremors, confusion, and unconsciousness. Extremely high levels can be fatal.
Okay. So it says extremely high levels. You're not going to get that out of car exhaust.
No.
But people will say to me all the time, like when I'm smoking, they're like, how can you put that in you? I'm like, because I go outside near the road
Yeah.
You know, tractor trailers drive by my house all the time.
Well, and I don't think that. Okay, how do I say this? I've grown my own tobacco 2 years in a row,
Mm-hmm.
and you feel healthier smoking it, but you still feel like you need a regular cigarette.
Yeah, because it doesn't satisfy you because it doesn't have the chemicals in it.
Bingo. So I don't think that the benzene is caused from regular tobacco. I think it's probably added into cigarettes. It's one of the
Mhm.
thousands of chemicals they put in cigarettes.
Mm-hmm. I've talked to people who worked on tobacco farms, and they would talk about what they would dump on during the curing process.
Mm-hmm.
The different chemicals that had to go on at different times. And then here's a fun fact: if you're not aware, when they started going after cigarettes, cigarette companies bought up food companies and
Yes, they did.
They started treating our food like they used to treat cigarettes. Now it's addictive. You're never full.
Philip
They get-
Morris owns all kinds of companies now that are food related.
Mhm.
What is their food company name? It's not Philip Morris. They switched it.
Altria.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
What about Kitty Shear and Rumble's asking? I don't know how to open comments on here if they're even showing, but
they're not.
they've switched. Okay. What about leading gas along with DDT? What would the DDT was the stuff they were spraying for mosquitoes or something, right?
It's a pesticide, and Robin Cook wrote a book in the 70s about eagle eggs getting soft and got it banned. It was a pesticide, basically. Robin Cook's book, what was it? Silent something? Do you know what that is, Kitty? I can't remember.
I'm waiting to see if she says anything. Okay, so here's what this is AI, man, from Bill Gates. All right.
Yeah.
It's not me. I'm not pulling this out of my ass. So this says right here the combination of leaded gasoline and DDT in the air would likely amplify neurotoxic, immunorepressive, and developmental harm, especially in children and pregnant women.
So
the two together would amplify. The effects would be bigger.
And it was Silent Spring was the name of that book. So you have that combination. So we've established what lead does. It lowers your IQ and it takes away your ability to control your impulses, make you more impulsive. So
my thing is still like, why? Like, I feel like I just don't know how to feel about all this, because like if it does that to people, it should have done that to all people.
Not necessarily, because it has to affect you when you're young, and not everything.
1978.
Yeah, that's fair.
You see what I'm saying? Why am I not out like serial killing and shit?
Were you huffing gas? Did you grow up near a junkyard, or did
No,
you grow up out in the country?
I grew up when I was young. I'm trying to think. I grew up in a small town, not like it wasn't a big town. It was a bigger town than what I'm in now, but
I grew up in the smallest of small towns, and the most remarkable thing that ever happened, was fist fights, like just a fist fight down at the bar.
That must be nice. My small town is nationally known for a murder.
Yeah,
a famous murder in the basement of a hardware store that nobody ever solved.
Well, that you are right. There was one murder that happened where I was from, not my town, but the area. It was on Unsolved Mysteries. It happened in the 70s, and they caught the guy in the 90s.
They still have the guy.
It was a guy who went to her church. Got her walking home. But neither here nor there. But then you start to think, okay, what about the densely packed population centers where all the violence happens? That's also where all the cars are constantly.
That's where all the cars were, and that's where all the lead pipes still are.
Yeah.
We just figured that one out. And DDT, I think, was used quite a bit in the city too, because of the fact that it was a city and they didn't want everybody. The mosquito, they would go through neighborhoods, wouldn't they? They had the DDT trucks and they'd spray.
Yeah.
So we've got two things that they were, and then in some cities, the military was doing random ass experiments, putting stuff into the air on people too. What was it? San Francisco was one of them, I think.
Are you talking about when they put LSD in car exhausts and drove the car all over town? Or is that going to be another
From the
episode?
tops of buildings and stuff like that. Yeah, they did. There was, I think it was Kansas City.
Yeah, it was some Midwestern city, if I remember correctly.
And then somewhere in California, I thought too, because I remember reading the article saying that it made like they just did a whole thing about the people that were affected by it. It looked like there was like fog rolling into town when they did it.
Mm-hmm.
And
they did all kinds of stuff like that.
Yeah.
And some of it we'll never know because the records were never released or they were destroyed.
It's interesting stuff, man. I mean,
so you start to wonder, is it incompetence or is it malicious that these things happen?
That I would have to see. I would have to know exactly, and I don't know what the story is there, but I'd have to know exactly. Like, did the gas lobby fight to keep leaded gasoline?
Not that I'm aware of.
Right. And then on top of that, like, okay, so if they didn't fight to keep it, I mean, it could be like, okay, you caught us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You caught us. We're done. All right, we're done. Was it malicious or did they just not know? That's a good question. I don't know, man.
Well, that opening video that I played, the guy, he addressed that and he said they knew in the 20s when they started doing it, it was a bad idea.
Well, I did hear that, but yeah, maybe.
So then
why did we put it in paint too? You know what I mean?
Because they probably didn't think about. So if you paint a house, it's not going to chip for 60 years.
Yeah.
Lead paint isn't going to chip for 60 years. They didn't have 60 years worth of knowledge to know that was going to happen.
And the gas companies didn't tell the paint companies like, yo.
Oh, I'm sure the paint companies knew.
Well, that's what I'm asking. I'm saying, so like, what about with leaded paint? Because didn't leaded paint come out after leaded gas, obviously? I think the original paint was just like, I don't even know what original paint was, but I think it was, I don't want to switch out of that. I'll have to go.
Hold on, I'm looking it up.
Yeah, so that, I mean, could it have been intentional? Yeah. Let's see if this creates violence or whatever. To me, what I feel is that the intentional stuff that I see happening is that all these municipalities and stuff, they're just allowing lead. If we know this, they're just allowing lead pipes to stay.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I'm saying? So, all these generally blue cities taking all these taxes to make these people's lives better. And what do they do with them? They build statues and parks and stuff that are full of junkies and drug addicts and violence because the pipes are lead. Why are you not ripping up the roads and replacing the pipes with my tax dollars at that point and make everybody safer if this is true? You know what I mean?
Because people will start complaining that their roads are ripped up. So are you ready for this?
Yeah.
Okay, according to Grok, lead paint, specifically white lead pigment, lead carbonate, was first invented and produced around the 4th century BC in ancient Greece and Rome. Yep, this early method involved corroding lead plates with vinegar and organic materials to create the pigment, blah, 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 blah. While the exact invention moment is unclear due to gradual development, this marks the earliest documented production and application. It says they used it in Egyptian and Chinese paints. Toxicity was noticed early on with warnings in medieval texts. Yes, yet it persisted until bans in the 20th century. So Big Glidden is to blame. Benjamin Moore. Let's go get him.
Yeah.
No, kidding, but it's funny because it happens all the time. You see it with the stuff RFK is trying to get through. The bans on the dyes and the artificial ingredients and that. And people are fighting it. No. We want more of the, and it's funny because last year they had a story about Skittles getting banned in California because of the dyes, and those people were all excited. But then this year, RFK comes in, and companies are just pulling it out, and they're freaking out. So a lot of it is political, and if it becomes a political issue, 50% of the people will be for it, and 50% of the people are going to be against it, no matter what. I wouldn't say 50-50, 35-35.
Well, let's be real.
I'm as real as I can be.
If Biden came out and he was like, "Look, I'm going to take all the colored dyes out of your foods," I don't think conservatives would have been like, "No, you can't do that." It's because Trump's president.
Yeah.
You know what
Of
I'm
course.
saying? Like, we would have been like, okay, finally, he does something that is not shitty. But that never happened. So, like, honestly, I don't know what to think, man. I mean, maybe they did it intentionally. Maybe they were like, okay, this could have some bad effects on the people that process the gasoline.
Mm-hmm.
This could have some bad effects on like people who work around engines a lot, mechanics, so on.
Mm-hmm.
But it didn't factor in that chart. You know what I mean?
So do you know about the women who used to paint the watches? They used to have watches that had kind of like an indiglow, and what it was actually a very little amount of nuclear material, and
Okay.
women would take a very fine brush, put it in their mouth, go like that, dip it in, and paint the numbers, and then do it again and again. You can look this up, and they all got weird cancers all over their face. And this was after they knew that anything radioactive was bad for you.
Yeah.
I
Or
can't
did they
remember.
know? See, that's
They-
the question. You never know.
No, they did, because it was the 40s. I think by then they'd figured out with the,
Well, they made glass with radiation in it too, didn't they? The stuff that glows or whatever, or is that something else? I can't
Are you
think.
thinking not stained glass?
No, the glass that glows in a black light. What is that stuff?
Oh, I don't know.
It's supposed to be uranium. No. Now I got to look it up because now
Well, I'm looking up the watches.
see if you can find a video on that.
Okay.
Yeah, uranium glass. It glows in a black light. Motherfuckers today still collect it. Not kidding. They collect it. And then they put black lights in the cabinet and it all glows.
Okay. Hold on. I know what they're called now.
I'll show you what it looks like. As soon as you see it, you'll see it. You'll recognize. Well, maybe not. I mean, maybe people don't know about it. That's what it looks like in a black light.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Let me see if I can find a quick one here. Wow. How about just a quick story?
Are they all like extremely long videos?
So here's what we'll do. I got it. But Jesus, ridiculous.
So in 1940s through 1970s, they were using both leaded gas and DDT together. Not like,
Mm-hmm.
not like, the gas didn't have DDT in it, but if you're, yeah.
Okay. Pull that up.
They linked the use of those two to, by the way, I missed this part.
The workers had been assured that the paint was harmless, so they often played games with the paint. It was common for the girls to paint their fingernails and teeth with it in order to enjoy the glow-in-the-dark properties.
Paint our faces up and put mustaches, and a couple of girls painted their ears.
A later study by Harvard into the tragedy of the radium girls discovered that the workers would be so covered with the paint and radium dust that they would glow completely, and all along they were assured it was safe. It wasn't. The workers had been assured that the paint was harmless.
So anyway, that was World War I. So I was mistaken, but I'm pretty sure Marie Curie was she was 1800s, wasn't she? She carried uranium in her pocket and died of radioactive poisoning.
I'm not sure. I was gonna say too, just before we move on, they think that the use of DDT and possibly leaded gasoline. Apparently, this is something people thought of before.
Mhm.
Led to the rise in chronic health conditions in later generations after they did this in the 1940s through 70s. Just wanted to throw that out there. Kitty asked or mentioned that they use chemicals, like I said, when they switched and messed up the chemicals in the piping in Flint to
Yeah.
try to keep the lead pipe so that they don't leak out. But I don't necessarily trust that works.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then even if it is some kind of chemical that reacts with the lead, and I hope to God it works, but what happens when that chemical turns out to have all kinds of side effects down the line?
Yeah.
I hope that's not the case, but more often than not, it is, because people don't want to spend the money,
Yeah, so all they do is create a protective barrier. They use orthophosphate silicates,
Uh-huh.
polyphosphates, and then they raise or lower the pH and alkalinity to try to keep lead in pipes. So my faith in any of that, whether these are safe or not, that's one thing. But my faith in this actually being an effective way to keep lead in pipes 24/7 every day of the year,
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any faith in that.
It's a
You know what I mean?
placebo. Makes
Yeah.
you think you're safe. Puts you back to sleep.
Yeah. That's my thought on that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Just wanted to check something.
Yeah, no worries. Like, kind of a lot of stuff that came out of this, huh?
A lot that I didn't even think of when I was researching it. Now I feel dumber.
Yeah.
They claim that the orthophosphates are perfectly safe,
Mhm.
but don't they claim that putting amounts of what do you call it that RFK is trying to get out of water? Why am I
Fluoride.
Fluoride is safe as well, but
Uh-huh.
I don't believe that.
So I mean, that one hits home. So let me explain my problem with fluoride to you. They say that when you're young, when you're little, small amounts of fluoride will make your developing teeth strong.
Yep.
Okay. So why am I, as a 42-year-old man, drinking it? Because it does nothing for me.
Yeah.
And that the argument they'll have is like, oh, it's not bad. Okay, take it out of the water. It doesn't need to be there. There
Yeah.
should be no chemical in our water that does not need to be there. And people will argue tooth and nail for that. I don't get it.
Dishes still have lead in them, especially from China, says Kitty. Oh crap, she's saying a lot of stuff here. She said she used to work in a paint shop at one of the big three. There were a lot of different chemicals stored and used there. They did not follow the storage rules, the transportation rules, etc.
Thanks, Robert.
Dishes still have them. It was in the late 1800s. Steve, you're right about Mary Curie or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then she says, I worked in many different departments and the rules, guidelines, etc., were not followed very well.
That's anywhere.
Yeah. I mean, okay, but if that's anywhere, like that goes back to what I'm saying about these chemicals that are supposed to be keeping all these people in the city safe from lead.
So I'll tell you a quick story about where I'm from. Our water treatment plant was run by a guy who was kind of like the dumbest guy in town. And they just kind of put him there because it was supposed to be kind of a push button operation.
All right.
So what would happen is he'd spend most of his nights drinking and looking at girly magazines. And then anytime the state was coming in, we could tell because their water smelled like Clorox. He would just dump. So for 4 months, he would do nothing and then dump bottles and bottles of Clorox or whatever the bleach they used to get the pollutants down because he knew they were coming. I grew up drinking that stuff. And what
yeah.
are you doing?
So Fun fact: they started the first city. A lot of people don't know this. The first city to put fluoride in water was Grand Rapids, Michigan, 50 miles from me. And then it started spreading through the country. And now you got to look at like all the different angles of why we're seeing some of the things we're seeing today could all lead to this. If people who gave birth to other people were exposed to lead through gasoline and other things, and that stays in your body, especially your bones, that's probably been passed down to the baby somehow. I would imagine, right? When you think,
Yeah.
right, and then there's the DDT factor. When did that say that they stopped using it? The 1970s. So me and you, dude, we're like Toxic Avenger over here. And then they put that into our water. Well, not my water. I'm in the country, but you see what I'm saying? What are the effects of everything together is where I'm at now.
Joe, you're in the country, but you understand how the water works, right?
Yep.
Like, so you don't get it, but then the rain comes and rains down and goes into your well, and it's everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, microplastics are everywhere too, on top of it, and those have different effects on the human body.
They say that male children have microplastics in their huevos. If you don't know what's Spanish for eggs.
Yeah, they're nuts.
Yeah. And it's everywhere. It's in everything. They've introduced something like 50,000 new chemicals since the 50s, and some ridiculously low number have been approved, like 5,000.
Yeah, that's why I'm kind of glad we got RFK up in there. And I think he's doing a lot of things behind the scenes. I don't think they're announcing everything that he's doing. You know what I mean?
No.
I think the big stuff they're announcing. But my big thing is like, you know, I'm never going to do this on Rumble. I'm about 2 hours away from being able to be a creator there, from using Rumble Studio.
Yeah.
But like, I'm never going to advertise this shit for your gut. What is it?
I couldn't tell you. I don't watch Rumble ads.
Well, it's on YouTube too if you don't have premium.
I do.
But then these influencers advertise for it too, and the lady comes on their shows and she talks about it. It's that fermented shit that people drink or eat. Not kombucha, the other stuff.
Okay, I couldn't tell you, but pro tip for you: if you don't want to watch ads on Rumble, watch it on Brave.
Yeah,
works for YouTube too.
Yeah, well, it's not kombucha. It's this other stuff. They say that it removes. There's a long story to get to this, but they say it removes microplastics from your body.
Mm-hmm.
That's great, and if it's true, that's really great, right? That's super great. But they want like a ton of money for it. But at the end of the day, is there a way to remove it from everything? Like, have they come up with a way to get it out of shit? No. So you're spending all this money to buy this stuff to get microplastics out of your body, but you're also drinking water still.
Mm-hmm.
It's
going right back. I do.
Yeah.
You're just making room for the next group of stuff that's coming in.
Exactly. That was a long story to make that point. But yeah, I couldn't remember the name of what the stuff's called. Kimchi.
Really?
Now I remember.
The Korean barbecue stuff?
Yeah, they claim that removes microplastics from your body and makes you grow hair and all this and that. And I'm like, okay.
No thanks.
But yeah, so like that's my point though. So even if that did work, you're still going to be drinking it. They make it in tablet form. What do you take they make it in capsule form? What are you going to take the capsule with to get the microplastics out of your body? Water, right? Or even if a plastic jug.
It doesn't matter. You can drink soda, you can drink tonic water, you can drink beer. The base of all of those items is water. And our boy Alex Jones, they're turning the frogs gay. It was because of atrazine out of birth control hormones that was in the water that affected all the reptiles. Life Will Find a Way, Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
It turns out that was right. It was only frogs.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I feel like we get hit from all sides. The fact that they stopped using leaded gasoline shocks me, honestly.
I think they found a cheaper.
I
To
think
be
that's
honest
what
with
it
you,
was. I think
it
that's
was either or. Do me a favor, look up if Ralph Nader ever went after lead and gas.
hold up. I'm trying to leaded gas. Ralph Nader.
Yeah, Ralph Nader. He ran for president. He was a huge customer advocate. He's the reason that we all know about the Pinto, unsafe at any speed.
If I could type, that would be all right. Ralph Nader ever go after leaded gas? The Pinto that you drive into the back of and it explodes.
Yeah, he's the
Yes,
reason
he was
that
a local critic of leaded gasoline and played a key role in raising public awareness about its health dangers, especially during the 1970s. What
That's
about
why it's
RFK?
I don't know. But I know Ralph Nader had a lot of attention in the 70s and the 80s. If he went after something, it tended to go away.
He wasn't actively. Yeah, he
going
wasn't.
after.
Yeah. So, but yeah, Nader did.
Well, RFK was in his teens in the 70s, I think.
Oh yeah, but they stopped using it in the 90s. That's why I was asking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They completely stopped using it in the 90s. I didn't.
If I remember, like as a kid, I don't remember seeing places where you could buy leaded gas.
I couldn't tell you. I remember the numbers on the sign being a hell of a lot lower than they are today, though.
Yeah.
But that's about it. I don't remember. Yeah, I mean they're doing good now, though. Finally, Michigan is staying below $2 or $3.
There you go. Same here.
It was touch and go there for a minute. The refinery kept having issues for us, but yeah, I feel like just the combination, especially for people our age, I don't think it's necessarily better today.
It's
I'm
different.
It's different. But we've got SSRIs now to take into the everybody's on them. They started
Wi-Fi
in the late 80s. Wi-Fi, yeah, we've got Wi-Fi all through the damn house.
And once again, you mentioned SSRIs. Even if you're not taking it, you're taking it.
Yeah, they're in the water from people pissing and dumping them.
Yeah. I mean, that's how it works. There's just no other way. And they say they filter it out, and I'm sure it works just as good as anything else the government does, which is to say it doesn't. So our environment, I think, plays a huge role. Leaded gas, I think, in the 70s and 80s did cause a lot of the problems. It's gone away to an extent, but now we find out that there's still people drinking water out of lead pipes.
Kitty just pointed out, I don't know when she said this because I've been doing searching, but she said she's near Detroit and their water smells like chlorine from time to time.
That probably means they're dumping whatever chemical they have to pass a water test, would be my guess. But that's what it was when I was a kid.
She also said she used to think that, there's no way all these companies, governments, and so on would purposely cause harm. Boy, was I wrong. Corvair, too, said Robert about the Pinto, I think.
Yeah.
And then he said gas prices are $2.80 down in Florida. So to answer your question from a few minutes ago, yes, the replacement additives for lead were cheaper to use.
Yeah, that's probably it. To be honest with you, they were probably more plentiful, and it got to the point where lead was getting expensive. Plus, Nader was putting pressure on him. And that whenever they signed the bill, it was like within 10 years it has to be phased out or whatever.
Yeah.
They don't sign it and it's gone the next day, especially with something like gas. So my guess is like Reagan actually was the one that banned it, but it went out under Clinton.
The reason I'm guessing, did they I'm wondering if the reason that they do that sometimes with something like that, Yeah, that's what I thought. So the U.S. gas reserves,
Mhm.
I asked if they replaced it, relatively fast. It said nope. They did not replace leaded gasoline reserves quickly. The phase out was slow, multi-decade process that began in the 1970s and culminated into a full ban for on-road vehicles in 1996. So 1973, the EPA began regulating lead gasoline, requiring refiners to reduce the lead content gradually. By 75, the catalytic converters on cars were introduced. 86, leaded gasoline was banned for use in new cars, but still available for older vehicles. So we saw it.
Yeah.
We just don't remember it. 96, full federal ban on leaded gasoline for on-road vehicles took effect over 20 years after the initial regulations began. 20 years.
So my guess is it's kind of like flex fuel, or flex fuel, the stuff that's made of corn that can only go in certain cars.
Yeah.
There's probably one around here. There's probably one gas station every 40 miles where you can get it.
Yeah, you can't really find it anywhere. It was really big there for a minute.
And then it was like, oh, wait a minute. Why are there people starving, but we're putting corn in our gas?
Yeah. And then industry resistance was a reason why the transition was slow. So even though the other stuff was cheap, allegedly oil companies and lead additive manufacturers like Ethel Corporation lobbied heavily against the ban, but then they all died from lead poisoning and they lost that fight. Well, no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Infrastructure challenges. Refineries had to retool to produce unleaded blends, and gas stations needed to offer both fuel types during the transition. Boy, oh boy.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was the vehicle compatibility issue. Yeah. Yeah. So that sounds like a nightmare, man. And I was just probably riding my bike, fucking getting rained on by leaded rain.
Yeah. With no idea.
Bubble gum.
But realistically, if they started outlawing it in the 70s, by the time you were 5, there was probably very few leaded vehicles still on the road.
Okay, so Kitty said she remembers when they first came out with unleaded. Says she worked at a gas station when it rose above 99 cents a gallon. The pumps weren't equipped to handle above 99 cents. It was a huge mess. And Robert says he remembers that. So it costs less for them to put these new additives in, but it made the price of gas go up.
Yeah.
That makes 0 sense.
Well, they had to fund the changeover. The oil company's not going to eat that loss.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
So
wow.
I don't know that we. What's that?
I'm glad I wasn't like aware of all this back then. That seems like it would have been annoying more than anything.
And it's funny that Kitty mentions that, because during the Biden I did that era, I was working at Speedway.
Yeah.
And I remember us worried about the fact that our pumps wouldn't go over $10 a gallon.
Yeah.
It never got there, but for a while it looked like it was gonna.
Fun fact, I still got a stack of the stickers.
Yeah.
I put them on everything.
I got one on my wallet that I pulled off a pump.
Yeah, I got one on my garage door where there's like where the dog ate. He was in the garage and ate the padding off the back of the door. I put them on pumps.
Yeah.
And graffiti. Man, did that trigger the lefties.
Yeah.
Holy crap. But yeah, it just sounds like it was a nightmare scenario. So they found out that it was bad in the 70s, and the nightmare scenario was like when they actually did what they were supposed to do, which would have been in the 90s. So like, I guess what I'm saying is 20 years it took for that to happen. But everybody just kind of did the same thing for 20 years until it was like, nope, it's finally illegal. And then they're like, oh shit, making it a nightmare for literally everybody else. You know what I mean? They had 20 years to phase this in, and they didn't. They're like the worst humans on earth. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm sure they assumed that someone would come along, or the oil companies. The oil companies probably were telling them, hey, we'll get this taken care of. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Yeah. God, man, I don't remember any of this. Probably because I was just exposed to lead.
Yeah.
My brain wasn't developed, so I didn't notice all the I don't even remember my parents being like, "Holy shit, what? This is crazy," or anything like that. I think that would seem that seems like a crazy time to be alive, like where they're switching over to a brand new gas. And what about the people that didn't pay attention? I wonder if there's stories from people that didn't pay attention and actually put leaded gas in their new car that's not supposed to get it.
I'm sure that happened a lot. You'd be surprised how much working at a gas station you see people trying to put diesel into a regular car.
I don't know. The weirdest thing I've ever seen at a gas station is a stone dude drive off with the gas thing still in his car.
All the time.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be someone stoned.
No. But this guy was definitely high.
There's a speedway less than a mile from me, and they have 2 pumps out by the road and then 2 on the other side of the building.
Yeah.
The one out by the road, right by where you come in, I have seen get hit by cars about 4 times, crumpled up, just completely decimated 4 times.
Well, it's 10 o'clock. We've gone for, how long have we gone for? An hour, 11 minutes. Well, not 10 o'clock, 9:56, but we can do the wind up of facts. What did we learn? We learned that lead paint blocks radio waves, but that's not necessarily why they banned it.
Yeah, it could be. I'm not discounting it, but
radiation.
Yeah.
We learned that leaded gas definitely causes all sorts of problems in people.
Mm-hmm. And the environment.
And in the environment. And that they were using DDT and lead at the same time in gas, which together more than likely led to a lot of the things that you're seeing in people like older than us.
Yeah.
They might be it could Alzheimer's, things like that might be explained by that.
Look at New York City in the 70s.
Oh God, that place was a festering shithole.
Yeah, and they got the lead pipes, and they had a ton of people driving there. And
I feel like that's something that we can't turn the whole show into it, but the fact that all the cities that when you think of those names that we went through, what was it, 10 cities?
St. Louis is number 1. It's number 1 or number 2 in the country for violence.
Yeah.
It's right up there. I heard that. I heard Cleveland, which is always up on the list, Detroit, Chicago.
Well, that's what we learned is like, okay, and they have a high violence rate, but they also have a ton of lead pipes. So if you think about it, it might be a correlation, even though they claim that these chemicals that they use work super duper good. It could be a outright lie. It could be complete bullshit. Because like you pointed out, and then Kitty also said that happens down where she's at every now and again, you smell chlorine. Whereas like in cities where they actually manage it good or whatever, you should smell that all day, every day. It should be a regular thing in your water. In other words, there are some of these people in these cities, and not the one city isn't like one big city isn't just treated by one water plant either. You got to take that into consideration too. Yeah. There's multiple. So if the people in one aren't doing a good job, that group of people is drinking lead. You know what I mean?
Oh, on some level. You have to think about the fact that you have to rely on these people.
Yeah.
To do their job. And if you've ever been in charge of, these kind of people, just getting someone to sweep a floor, go into any business and watch the supervisor try to get the employee to do what they want.
Yeah.
And then say, oh, wow. And I got government employees in charge of my water. Oh boy. Because they're always the most useful.
Yeah. So that's what we learned. Yeah. There was lead in the gas. They took it out because, well, multiple reasons, mostly environmental. And then later people figured out it might have been the cause for violence, which was why we did this show and got that really sweet graphic behind us.
Yeah.
And Yeah, that's just crazy, man. Like I never heard this until you mentioned it after the last show. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
That's crazy. What? And I started looking at it, and
I
didn't
had
have
heard
much,
about it.
but yeah.
I was just gonna say I had heard about it, but I never dig into it till the last couple days. Dug into it.
Well, I did a little bit, but then when you asked me today what I'd found, I'm like, I'd only seen a few things, and then I dug into it today, and I was like, what the hell? Because I was doing live streaming and all that when we decided that was going to be the topic. But yeah, I'm like, what the hell? I read that study, and they broke it down pretty good in that study. I closed it, I think, but yeah, I feel like and then you brought up the issue, like, did they do this? Did they close it or stop using it because it was cheaper? Kind of figured out that no, that's not really why they stopped using it. They were kind of forced into stop using it. They drug their feet. They were in no hurry to stop using it. There was a fight to keep using it, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
And it took 20 years to get it out of there, even though they knew it was really bad, which is messed up. But then again, the United States didn't even ban CSAM on any level until the 70s. So I guess,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying? And then people fought it. So Kitty says they made the hole in gas tanks smaller for unleaded gas. You couldn't fit the unleaded gas in the, that makes sense. Cool. Okay, that answers that question. Cool. Well, you could still maybe accidentally have filled no, probably not.
A gas can, you probably wouldn't have. That explains why, like, those old Ford trucks with the gas tank that was on the side, that hole was huge.
Yeah.
You know,
did they have to convert those or something?
No.
Or did they just run on not leaded gas?
They just, the new gas has the additive that does the same thing as the leaded. So you can use
switch over. Huh.
But they had to on the business end, they had to switch everything over because it was different. They probably needed different tanks, you know.
I guess that confuses me. So if they could just have a car or a truck that's running on leaded gas, but it will also run on unleaded gas, why'd they still need both pumps?
Because people are resistant to change. That's why even though in the 70s America officially switched to the metric system, we still think of anyone that uses it as commies.
I think of them as Canadians usually.
Yeah, me too. Oh, it's 12 degrees out. I better get my jacket. Oh, it's 14. I'm sweating. What?
Well, that's what kills me when you hear the stories coming out of Europe. They're like, there's going to be a heat wave, and they say that it's like, going to be 23, and you look up what that actually is. It's like 70, or whatever, and you're like, that's a heat wave? The frick? Boy, there's some fragile people over there, man. If 70s is a heat wave to you,
a lot of it
do 100-degree days here, and I'm in Michigan.
Well, they don't have air conditioners, and B, their houses were built to keep heat in the winter because a lot of them are 400 years old.
Yeah.
So it doesn't let heat out in the summer. But all the same, the answer is okay. Go get an air conditioner. Oh, we can't because Greta Thunberg will get mad at us.
Right. Do they still have toilet? I just one last thought. Are their toilet tanks still way up on the wall above the toilets, or did they finally ground the toilet tank to the actual toilet like a normal?
I would have to assume they look normal, but
I'm just wondering because they do some weird shit over there. Their plugs are different. Apparently, their houses cook them when it gets 70 degrees out. Yeah. All right. Well, we learned a lot. Well, I definitely learned a lot. I never heard this till you mentioned it after that last show.
Yeah.
Study again. That was a good read. So if you just joined us at the end, go back to the beginning and it shows you the name of the study. You can read that. They took all kinds of studies and lumped them all together and ran through them to get to a conclusion. And they seem to think that, yes, leaded gasoline led to not only violence, but a lot of other issues in people too.
Mm-hmm.
Impulse control, violence, because you can not be violent and also have bad impulse control. You know what I mean? It just comes out a different way. you might be like a chronic masturbator in public or something, or like you buy too much stuff, or you know what I mean? Not everybody that has impulse control is a murderer, but still, it's not a good thing to have, especially just in general, like not being able to control things.
Yeah.
That a normal person would normally control. It sucks, I would imagine. But yeah, that was an interesting show, man. What are we going to do next time, I wonder, before Halloween? Or wait, is Halloween going to happen before our next show?
No, we'll have one more show, and then Halloween is the following Friday.
Our next show will be on Saturday, though. It'll be on a normal time. We had to push it forward because of the Latin Kings protest. Yeah. So cool.
I vote for the Men in Black.
Yep, that's what you said. We'll do Men in Black for sure. Yep.
Why did that terrible movie get made? No, I'm just kidding.
The first one was not bad.
The first two are okay. The third and International are both hot dog water.
Yeah. I guess the second one wasn't bad. That one was actually kind of funny.
Yeah. Michael Jackson played himself as an alien.
The Universal Studios ride for it was interesting. You shoot at aliens from the ride.
Yeah.
And you get points when you get out.
Yeah. They still had the Back to the Future ride when I was there.
Did they?
They did. I rode it like 3 times.
Dude, they didn't have nothing. We went as a kind of like a tribute to my dad when he passed from Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
Took me there when I was a kid once, and he loved that place, the ET ride especially. And I went back because I wanted to, kind of a tribute to him, share it with my kids. It was all freaking roller coasters. And then I'm guessing what was the Back to the Future ride is now the Simpsons ride, which, don't get me wrong, was badass. But it wasn't the Back to the Future ride that I remembered as a kid. And when we had gone there, the Jaws ride was being built. And when we went there this time, it didn't even exist. So I was just like, man, I was pretty bummed about that. I was not thrilled at all. There was some cool stuff, though, mostly the Harry Potter one and all that. Not the roller coaster, but yeah, it was depressing. Anyway, what else we gotta wrap it up. What do we any last thoughts on leaded gasoline, Steve?
No, I think we covered the majority of it. I thought going into this we would have gotten more into details about the serial killers. I'm actually kind of glad we didn't. I'm glad we kept it scientific and more. We learned a little bit more. We dug into stuff. Thank God Kitty was here to tell us all kinds of stuff we wouldn't have known otherwise.
Yeah, Kitty and Rob, they were coming with the facts.
Yeah. We had to put their name in the credits.
The serial killer aspect, though, you did bring it up and brought up some good points, but the thing is that she even admitted in your video that they were just speculating about the series. You know what I mean? Like they weren't positive about it, but it does stand to reason. You said 2 of them grew up near refinery plants, or 3 of them grew up near refinery plants for him. So, I mean, yeah, but I don't know, man. I feel like we're on the right track. I guess that's what we could end it with. I think we're on the right track right now with RFK being in charge of all that and getting stuff out of stuff that doesn't need to be there. And hopefully in 4 years, things will be better. He already replaced some dye with something natural.
I saw Frito-Lay is making all of their taking all artificial flavors and colors out of their chips. So that's Fritos, Doritos, Cheetos.
Mm-hmm. All my favorites.
Tostitos.
Not my favorite.
Yeah, I get it, but I'm saying all of those are going to have all the artificial stuff taken out.
And that's good. It's just, will people like the way they look now? Are they going to be able to dye them the same color? Because that's what they've been worried about all this time, is they're not going to look as pleasing.
So I can give you one example. Mountain Dew, when I was a kid, up until 2018, 2019, had brominated vegetable oil in it. Causes cancer. It's banned in every country in the world, including the United States. Pepsi had a waiver to have it in the States.
Of course they did.
They took it out and no one noticed.
Yeah.
It was only in there to make it the color that it was. They took it out and nobody noticed. What
did they replace it with? Pee?
No, they did it. Yeah. They didn't replace it with anything.
Oh.
They have the Mountain Dew they released all over the world.
Okay, I'm going to give that one to you because you asked earlier about the leaded gasoline. Was it nefarious and intentional that they did this? That seems nefarious and intentional because you know damn well when they took it out in the lab, before they took it out, they knew that nobody would notice a difference, but they left it in knowing it causes cancer. That's nefarious.
They sold it all over the world without brominated vegetable oil because they only had the pass in America.
Why do they want Americans dead is what I want to know over any other country.
Well, I think that may be a topic for a different show.
Yeah.
But
all right, Steve, we should probably end this. We went for an hour, 25 minutes, and I was like, all right, Steve, we should probably end this at an hour and like 10 minutes. So
yeah,
extra bonus content of us bullshitting. All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining us. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you didn't, I'm sorry. We did our best. We'll talk to you guys later. Peace out. How do you end the show, Steve? I'm not used to this.
It's all right.
I'm like, oh, there we go. I got it.